Walking these streets, shadows fall, lost in a world, echoes call, searching for light, voices true, St. James Church, in the heart of the blue. Glorify God, nurture all, share the gospel, hear the call. That is what we do at St. James, breaking chains, singing new names, pushing through the night.
Ready?
Well, welcome to St. James 75th anniversary videos. Today we are with Larry and Linda Wilk, and they have been long-term members here for quite some years.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me, how did you join the congregation? What led you to that?
Well, we met here at the congregation.
Oh, okay.
So Mike Klein, who I worked with at the Chronicle Tribune, used to harass me about meeting Larry, and he wanted me to go to a softball game. And I said I was not going to do that because the church had a softball league at the time, our team. And so I thought, well, I'll come to church just to satisfy Mike, and I'll meet Larry, and I'll go on my way, and, that'll be done. And that wasn't what God intended.
Oh.
So we met and went out to lunch. And I always say that Larry didn't call me until after the holidays because he didn't want to deal with Christmas.
It was right before Thanksgiving when we first went to the pizza place out to lunch. But I had been, when I moved here, we're one of the rarities. We're both Lutheran, both LCMS Lutherans. Our families.
I was that you were as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both
Long-standing.
And her parents are very with their church, very active with their church, or were.
Oh, okay.
Of course, my dad and mom
Because your dad
was a pastor.
Was a pastor.
Yeah. And so this was the first place I came, and of course it helped out that there was, I came in 91, she moved, and then we started dating in about 92, 93, 92, 92, like October, November. But with all the help of, well, not the help, but when Pastor Carlson had came and said, hey, are you into sports? And we were very active, and we had a basketball team, we had a softball team, so our church was active in all of that. I'm like, yeah, I'll stick with that. Not that that was a determining factor, but it definitely, sports helps.
Oh, sure.
So basically, we've been here for 30 some odd years.
Oh, wow. Now, when did you get married?
It was April 9th of 94.
94. Okay.
Nice little palindrome, 4994.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pastor Carlson and then Larry's dad married us. So.
Oh, okay.
And then we had another pastor. I had a lot of other pastors that were friends. He sang with his daughter in the thing. So yeah, we were here. It was about the same time as Julia Roberts' deal was going on. So yeah. So ours lasted, hers didn't.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it lasted like 9 months to a year or something.
Yeah.
Which was funny. I listened to Karen and Dave's talking about Julia Roberts, and I was a reporter at the time.
Oh.
And so and it was back before cell phones. So I had a walkie-talkie, and I was covering a car show, and they called me and said, hey, there's something going on at St. James. And I said, well, that's my church. I'll just go and see. And so the photographer actually caught a picture of Julia Roberts. That was the only picture that was caught. And I know Dave and Karen talked about how the buses were, strategic together. Well, Ellie Bogue caught him right as she was going in through the buses.
Oh, wow.
So she was able to make some decent money out of selling that. I walked into the church, And I started to talk to the organist, and then they figured out that I was a reporter, and so I was escorted out of the church.
Oh.
So I did a few articles, had a few radio shows, but I didn't get much out of it. But yeah, I thought it was interesting that I was not trying to get into their house or anything like that.
You weren't the person trying to.
No. But yeah, so.
So now, you were from Nebraska.
I was from
and
Nebraska.
you were Lutheran in Nebraska.
I was Lutheran. Yeah, my parents, my grandparents. I mean, again, long line of LCMS not pastors, but members.
Churchgoers.
Yeah, churchgoers. My dad was always an elder, always head of the church at our hometown, and so I fell away, as happens in your early 20s, and my work schedule, not to make excuses, but I worked Sunday through Thursday, just a lot of reasons. Didn't make it. So I was glad when it did work with Larry, because I always
had somebody to go with.
Yeah, get back to church.
Yeah, it's
So-
interesting too. Missouri Synod Lutherans, one from Michigan and one from Nebraska. You're in Indiana.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it gets even more interesting. My home church, one of the older members went to the day school with Larry's
My grandpa taught
Really?
like 10
Yeah.
miles from there. Yeah.
from my
a little
hometown.
small town. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a one room schoolhouse.
Yeah. So it was just
Yeah.
all the connections.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was a Nebraska fan before I knew him.
Yeah,
And
that's interesting.
so, yeah.
So now, what roles have you played in the church?
When I first got here, I blame Phil Roselle. He's kind of the kind of guy that kind of just kind of goes, "Hey, why don't you do this? Why don't you do this?" He kind of had that knack to get you involved, even though you didn't want to. So when I started, I was actually one of the founders of the men's ministry.
Oh, okay.
So we started that. I did youth board. I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th graders.
Oh, really? Oh.
I've been head of the ushers forever.
Right.
I've been an usher. Now I'm an elder, and unofficially I'm the AD athletic director of this place.
Oh, really? Oh,
because,
okay.
Yeah.
That's good to
So because we used to have basketball on Sunday afternoons, and I'd schedule all that. We used to have a team that we'd play at other venues against other Christian churches or other churches, and then same thing with I was in charge of the softball team for years, and so basically I became that, and so I've dipped it in a little bit of everything. So
And you're now going to be the executive director, and will be the head president.
yeah, come this July if everybody votes for me.
Oh, I'm
Or
sure
not.
that'll not be a problem. It's a problem.
By default, I guess. So yeah. So do what I can. Hopefully, we'll help out whatever way we can.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and the sports, that was going on long before you guys had the gym in there, right?
Yeah, we didn't.
Is that what's happening with the Y, from what I understand, or?
Well, see, when I got here, we still had. I think it was just about when it was just being built. To be honest,
No,
because it was what 97.
Because the Roselles had the first wedding back there.
Yeah, the Roselles
That
had
was
the first
after
date.
us.
Yeah, and it wasn't even cleaned up yet.
The oldest,
Oh.
I mean, it wasn't
Roselle.
even ready to go. They were,
yeah,
but
daughter.
yeah, I think once we opened or had that's when we started the Sunday afternoons, and then I really didn't do the Y with them, so. But yeah, the other stuff with the church members was when we really got, and that was, and they also had with the softball. I was just a player to start, and then I kind of got it by that. So yeah.
So what roles you played?
I was one of Phil's secretaries or assistants. Yeah, I did the Sunday education time work. And then when Larry went off the youth board, I think I probably went on it shortly after that. I've done women's ministry. I was part of the search committee, I guess you'd call it, for you and for for Pastor Lehrman, and then our DCE, and then other ad hoc committees over time. But,
And yeah, you're on the youth board now.
and I'm on the youth board now.
And you do a lot of women's ministry.
Part of women's, do women's ministry things, yeah.
So, can you name some people or things that may have had a big impact here on you at St. James? Any particular people that stand out, or?
We talked about that, and with our families both being so far away, I mean, hundreds of miles away, I don't know that there's necessarily one particular person, but this was like our family, especially for our girls,
Absolutely.
growing up here.
Because you have 3 girls.
We have 3 daughters.
twins.
So Laura's our oldest, and then Andrew and Marissa. Laura's 28, and Andrew and Marissa will be 24
And they
next
grew up
month.
in this congregation.
They grew up in this congregation. Yeah.
Yeah, they watched them grow from infants. So
I mean, I'll never. One funny story is Ernie and Naomi Garner, and they've been gone a long time. But when we were just the 2 of us, we sat behind them.
We were in the 3rd row instead of the 2nd row like we are now.
Yeah.
That was their row.
Yeah, that was their
Second
row.
row.
Literally, he would tell us that he bought that row.
It's ours when when they pass on.
And
So that's
he used to usher with Larry, and he would once in a while invite us to come over, and his wife would say no, absolutely not.
come over for a cheese sandwich and a beer, and she's like, nope.
And they would dress identical, so like it was a green day, or if it was a red day. I mean, outfit wise.
She picked him out.
Yeah, and so when Laura was born, Laura became Dolly, and they adored Laura, especially Naomi. And so suddenly we were invited, to socialize with them a little more.
And she always had dum-dums.
Yeah, she always had dum-dums for Laura. And then when Andrew and Marissa were born, I can't remember if Naomi went.
She was the twins were just born, and then she started to fade, and we took them over there so that she could, and she held them. And then she probably passed away maybe 6 months later. But then I started taking Ernie to church, picking him up and getting him to church and so forth. So he was kind of still included with us.
Sure.
And he always wanted to go take us to lunch.
Yeah.
Always wanted to take us to lunch.
Well, he was home by himself.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
But I remember when he told us that since he bought that pew, when he was gone, that was now our pew. And so that's kind of part of the reason we sit in the pew we sit in.
Yeah. But I've always sat in the front.
Yeah. Oh,
When
yeah.
I
We
was
always
a
sat in the
kid
front. Yeah.
And whatnot. So
Yeah. And with the girls, we always did.
yeah.
But there's a lot. I mean, I remember when Andrew and Marissa were born, Mary Lerner would come over and give me a little bit of respite time. And
The Langs.
the Langs took the girls to Vacation Bible School because I couldn't get away consistently to get from
then
work. And
Paul Eichhoff basically bought diapers for the kids
Wow.
throughout.
Peggy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Peggy's ex-husband. Yeah, that was
Peggy
his.
had a large part to do with that too.
But yeah, that was like, when do you need some more? And so he'd bring a box over. Yeah, but I mean, there's just so many people in there. I mean, Joe Chambers still connects with the girls, and so yeah.
And of course, Mike and Jane, they're godparent to Andrea, because when we had Laura, we had family that, could be sponsors. And then when Andrew and Marissa were born, we were running out of family that could be, and because they were influential at getting us together. So, and good mentors for the kids. So, it's hard. You don't want to start naming names.
I know.
Because there have been, and there's just been so many people that have meant so much to us. And
Sure. Are there some events stories or funny stories or just stories in general that stand out over the time that you've been here that are memories?
I think there's just a lot of the things that I remember are the sports things that we did. I mean, one time, of course, Pastor Carlson is very competitive.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And we had one time when one of the players basically tears his knee. I mean, his ACL blows it out. And he's like, can you just pull him off so we can continue the game on? And we're like, Mark, we got to get this guy to the hospital. And just that, and some of the best times that I had was our softball practice. We do it every Sundays at 3:30, and we'd have 6, 8, 7, 6, 8, 7, 8, 9 guys there, and we'd practice it out at the UAW field that Danny Saylor's got us free use of it, and we just had a lot of fun doing that. We were our softball team. We had a lot of solid players. We didn't have those superstars, and we were competitive all the way throughout. So it was always enjoyable playing until everybody started getting older. And then we kind of had to pull people in and pull more people in, and it was like, okay, it's time to just call it a day. That was a sad day when we had to give that up. And I remember those, and just a lot of that with, and then coming here and playing on Sunday afternoons, just pickup games was a lot of fun at the beginning, because we'd have guys that, that weren't they were basketball challenged, but they enjoyed the exercise and wanted. And I'll say Mike Klein was one of them. He was not good. Sorry, Mike, but he came and played and came for the camaraderie, and that was a lot of what it was. And it was fun to bring in some of the young kids, and then they're like, "Hey, I didn't realize how good some of you guys were," and it's like, "Well, come out and play." And yeah, we get little disgruntlements, but that's just, some of us are competitive.
And you guys now play pickleball.
Yeah,
we do play pickleball
that's
now.
what I was just saying. Now we got pickleball.
Yeah, so I'm still in charge of that. So I send things out and whatnot.
And you got quite a crowd, because there's other people that come to that as well.
Yeah, we do.
Last week we had 14.
Wow.
And so, we're missing the McPhersons. They're leaving. They're gone, but for a little while. But and we play it all year round. Summertime we go to the out to Matter Park, and in the wintertime we have 2 courts in here, and we have fun. So it's those are the big things there. So I can't think of. I remember one time, funny part, when we had a candlelight service, and the fan was blowing, and one of the drape came up, because we had candles in a cross. And then everybody picked them up at the end when they were going through. Well, the wind blew up and caught the paper on fire. And here we were all just trying to go and put the tablecloth out during service, and Carlson's just kind of like, "Oh, wait, what?" It was like, something's not right here. But that was one funny part. So,
do you have any stories?
I can't think of anything, to be honest. I was sitting here to think while he was talking, but no.
So, how has St. James impacted your faith through the years?
My upbringing was very much fire and brimstone. It was,
in a Lutheran church?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, and I think again it goes back to my dad's upbringing. The fact he was a state trooper didn't help. But then I remember going to my grandparents, which my grandpa was a staunch German. And so it was very, you did not speak as a child. And it was a lot of, the grace and the mercy, I don't remember until I came to St. James. It was very much, and it wasn't abusive. I don't mean that by any means. Right. I want to make that clear. Heavy on discipline, heavy on, expectations. But what's interesting with our girls, they're adults, and when they come home, they come to church.
Yes,
and it's
they do.
not.
They do come to church.
We don't say, "Okay, you're going to get up." They say, "What time are you leaving?" And we all come as a family.
And one of your daughters even helped with VBS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they are very connected. And as a child growing up, I was it was an expectation. You know, I was going to go no matter what.
Me too.
But I would, whenever I could, I'd skip out on Sunday school, you know, and so that's the biggest impact for me is feeling like I've grown in my faith. And I always remember someone telling my kids that you can't hang on the coattails of your parents. It has to be your faith. And I think for a long time, I hung on the coattails of my parents. You know, I grew up Lutheran. I've never known anything different. You know, I never had that aha moment. You know, how people will say I became a Christian and whatever, lightning struck me or something. Yeah. I was baptized. I was always a Lutheran. And I feel like I'm I know I'm a stronger Christian because of this church.
Yeah, for me, I think if I didn't have this church, this is where all my friends are. I mean, I really don't have. I mean, I have some of my work friends, but it's not the same as friends from here. I mean, and you know that you're going to do something Christian-esque and whatnot. I mean, I have got guys from our softball team that we go on a baseball trip.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And we pray before each meal, which is unheard of. I mean, and we pray before we leave. We pray at the end, and you just don't see that.
And you guys have traveled quite a bit. I mean, you guys went to the Field of Dreams, didn't you?
We went to Field of Dreams.
Various other places.
Yeah, we're going to Cooperstown in April.
Oh, you are? Oh, wow.
So,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, we hit everything pretty much east of the Mississippi.
Oh, wow.
So, just not Boston or the two in Florida.
Oh. Okay.
So, but that's coming.
Oh, cool.
Boston, anyways. We don't care about Florida. Those aren't. Yeah.
You can go there for spring training.
Yeah. Well, if we do that, we're going to Arizona.
Yeah.
Go to the Cactus.
Yeah, I did. When I moved to Arizona from Fort Wayne, everybody's like, "Oh, we can come visit you in Arizona in January, in February." I go, "Why would you go?" Well, spring training. I go, "What does that have to do with it?" I didn't know. And I went and was like, "Oh, look at all these because I'm a baseball. I look at all these ballparks." It was something else. We always had visitors during spring training. But, yeah. So, what significant changes have you seen here at St. James in the time you've been here?
I think, when we had it, I mean, we had childcare and daycare, and we're thankful that we had the preschool, because all three of our kids went to it, and it served its need for the community, and the changes without having it makes a difference. And we've gone through three pastors that I've been. So, and each one's a little different. I mean, even our interim with Pastor Miller. So technically we're 5 with Carlson, Lehrman, Glander, Miller, and you. Yeah. So each one's a little different. Yeah. So seeing that, and unfortunately seeing the people getting older, but yet we're still, how much we're involved with the youth is great. That's continued even without. I mean, when we had a DCE, and then now we don't, but we're still continuing on with that. So there's just the changes of being a bigger church and now relegating ourselves to a little smaller but more intimate. So I think that's big things.
Yeah. Now, the preschool, I asked Dwayne them, they didn't know the answer either, but why was it called by a different name?
Good Shepherd Preschool?
Yeah, why was it called?
I really think it had to do with Karen Goey. I really think that she and Phil were, I could be wrong about Phil, but I really believe Karen was pretty instrumental in calling it the Good Shepherd Preschool.
So was there a particular reason for that?
Carlson could tell you that. I'm positive he could, because it would have been in his time frame.
Because it was already going on when I don't know how it got the name, but
Yeah, I still, every 3 or 4 months get a call for it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm
"You got
sure.
room?" I'm going,
I'm sure.
well, I think that closed. I don't want it closed, but I
Yeah.
said, it's been closed for a
Yeah.
long time. They go,
Yeah.
oh, we
It's
didn't
just,
know.
it's just got to
I
be
think
too
that-
many rules.
I think they're
yeah.
raising their grandkids now. And
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
It was
What-
very well known.
Yeah. This was the place to send your kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I remember the daycare.
we
when
couldn't even get ours in for,
Yeah.
for the daycare.
Yeah, we had to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I remember when we talked about doing it, I was real adamant that we needed to make sure we were going to be accessible to everybody.
oh, yeah.
You know, that we weren't just this high-income daycare.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they did agree to take the vouchers, which was important
Yeah.
because, you know, we needed that. And then the worst thing we did as a church is to hang on to it too long, though. It almost, in my opinion, it almost cost us financially. I mean, it just, that's the hard part about a church doing a daycare because there's that, is it a ministry? Is it
right.
a business?
Yeah,
And-
that's the
And how do you,
that's the great debate.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
how do you get the people that aren't paying? And
I
you're
had
like,
3 churches over 21 years with daycare, and they were all different, and and same thing. Yeah,
you don't want to go,
It's
you
hard.
owe me, you're cut off.
I know.
What?
I know.
Like,
I
yeah.
know. It's so. What are some changes you've seen?
You know, again, I mean, obviously, as Larry said, the different pastors, which again, that was different for me because I grew up with one pastor,
Oh.
and when I went to college, then they had a different pastor. So,
Me too.
Yeah.
I had my
Yeah.
dad for my whole life.
so when we started transitioning pastors, that was interesting for me.
That can be. I mean, because it used to be years ago. Yeah, a guy would say 20 plus years.
Yeah.
It wasn't uncommon,
Yeah.
and now I don't. You see a few guys doing that. There's
Yeah.
still a few guys, but most
That
guys
7-year
every-
itch.
Yeah, they just move. you know,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
or it's just transitory. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad there's not a mandate. I've been involved with other churches through my work where literally they're told you're here a year, you're gone. You're here
Yeah,
a couple
they-
years and you're
I
gone.
think
And
the Methodist Church has like
Mhm.
a 5-year,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the chaplains I worked with in Toledo, that's why he became a chaplain. He goes, I just couldn't move again, and they kind
Yeah.
of tell him, kind of like, well, I think the Roman Catholic Church does it too. Here's,
priests
here's
make
your
them,
new
yeah.
priest, you know,
yeah,
and,
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
and so you don't get a choice.
yeah.
It's interesting.
I know there's been a lot of changes. Why I can't think of them, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I-
I mean, I don't know.
I know. So, do you have hopes or aspirations for St. James in the future? Things you hope or want to see done here or accomplished here?
I just hope that we're around for a long, long time
Yeah.
yet. So that we just, I mean, it's because it's just hard because we are more liturgical and getting people, and it shocks people when they see you in full garb.
Yeah.
And I know when our girls went to Lakeview Christian School and they sang for Kids of Praise, and we'd come here every year, and they'd be like, "What? Why is he all dressed up so much?"
Yeah.
And when the others, it was more singing and little homilies, and onward we go. So there's a whole lot more scripture in our services, which is what.
Yeah.
And my daughter, all 3 of our daughters say, "I got to have scripture." So we went to some of the others that were, no, they just sang some songs and did a little homily and didn't even bring any scripture into it. It's just not the same.
Yeah, when I've talked to people that have joined, one of the themes that keeps on coming back up is that they actually came here from a different denomination for the liturgy, but they still want contemporary music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing. So,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
so it's not a case of, well, yeah, we like it's like
Mhm.
some of them don't like the hymns at all, but you get people that go, well, I've had that. Well, I grew up in a church that they didn't have it, and I really kind of like that. They experienced that. I still like the contemporary
Yeah.
songs, because sometimes those Lutheran hymns can be a little
A lot of them are.
dicey.
There's
You know,
not
I mean,
many,
they can be really, really
Yeah.
Yeah.
difficult. And
Yeah.
one of our, before Phil played for us, she came from a different background, Mennonite background, something like that. And she said something to me that I just didn't even think about before. She said, "How come these Lutheran hymns are so hard to play?" And I said, "They are? I mean, why not?" She goes, "Yeah, they're a lot harder to play than other denominational hymns. You guys just make your music so hard to play." And I went, "Oh, well, maybe we should do something about that."
Yeah.
I don't have the power position to get people to do that.
Yeah.
So, but it'd be nice.
Yeah, and they're hard to sing by too.
They
Those
can
ones.
be.
So
They can be.
yeah,
I don't know what, I mean, like Larry's saying, you know, I want to see the church be here as long as it can be, you know, forever ideally. You know, it's a tough time right now. It really is. And so making sure that we're continuing to be welcoming and friendly, and I think we are.
Yes.
Really feel like we are. And that we're making sure everyone feels a part of the church. I think that's really important. And
Yeah.
encouraging others. I mean, I think of sometimes some of the elderly that are widows and making sure that we are staying connected to
Right.
them and that they feel that they still have a purpose here is
Yeah.
important. And I mean, yeah, we need to do outreach, and I think we do a good job with that. But I think sometimes we need to realize some of our outreach, if our goal is to get people in the pews, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think there's a misnomer sometimes that if I do all this outreach, then certainly people will come and sit in the pews. And
Not necessarily, yeah. It's interesting that, well, I've said this many times that, you know, all the outreach we've done, that I've experienced since we've been here, and whatever we've done, the people that have walked in who have joined or started attending, none of them seem to be connected to any of that.
yeah,
And it's like they just
Yeah.
kind of walked in the door, and so it's like,
Mhm.
what exactly are we doing? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a thing of serving the community, and I think that you establish a good name so that people will find you if they need something.
Mhm.
And I don't think we can expect people to just walk through the door. I mean, you know, that we
Right.
got to do something to get them in, but I'm not sure how that all works, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, because it does
Yeah.
seem like they just kind of walk in the door and go, well, we want to join a congregation. Some of it is connections with people that are already here.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big deal.
Oh,
And
That's
yeah.
huge.
or making those connections
Mhm.
pretty
Mhm.
fast is a big deal.
Mhm.
So
yeah. And I think we're called to reach out to the community. And so we need to
Right.
be doing all those things. It's just, yeah. So,
Yeah, our involvement is with all of our members is huge. I mean, how many people that get involved in something is a lot. And
Yeah.
the hard part too is like some of these new people, they just want to come in for the services.
yeah,
Leave me alone, do this. And how do you know which ones are which?
yeah.
So
yeah, it's kind of I
Yeah.
guess building a culture that there's an
Yeah.
expectation that
Yeah.
you're going to contribute in some way in the work. But yeah, that's hard to.
but there needs to be a balance because
Yes.
the one downside of St. James is once you start doing something, you're in it forever. And,
Yeah,
you know, it's difficult to step away.
Yeah.
And that's good and bad because as people are aging, you've got to have somebody behind you that, you know, you're kind of mentoring to step into and
Yeah.
be receptive to.
And I think Lutherans have a hard time looking at a program and going, that's just too much.
Run
right
its
now.
course,
And
yeah.
let's do something else, or
right.
or because a flurry activity does not
Yeah.
equal spiritual growth.
Right.
It's just a lot of activity
Yes.
that it can actually be the opposite.
Mhm.
It can actually
Mhm.
wear you out.
Get overwhelmed and go,
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done with everything. Not
And,
just
yeah,
this. And pull back.
it definitely happens. Are there any questions I didn't ask you, or that you had other stuff? Anything I should have asked you?
That would be a good journalism question. I
That-
know
that
that
was-
came
that
from
was
my
a-
client. I
yeah,
know it
yeah,
did.
Yeah, he
I
said,
know,
make sure you ask that question before they.
That's what a reporter is always supposed to do. Make sure, in case there's something that they wanted to address and they didn't.
He also
Yeah.
asked me, he said, ask him, what's the one question that they were terrified that you would ask them?
Yeah. No, I think it's just we have a good church. We have a
Yeah.
good congregation, and we just need to always remember that. You know, always be thankful and grateful for all that we do have with so much uncertainty right now in the world, in the nation, and
Yeah.
leaning on God and not trying to solve it ourselves.
Yeah, and I mean, this congregation, of all the congregations I've been in, has the most active membership. You know, I mean, what I mean by
Right.
is that the people in the pew are actually running the church. I mean, they're doing it.
Right.
It isn't just the pastor or the staff that's doing that. We had a guy come in today that they're out doing utilities out here, and he said, "Where's your water shut off?" I said, "Well, you're looking, aren't you the pastor?" Yeah, I'm still the wrong guy to ask that question. I said, "You got to wait till the secretary gets in there." Her husband know it, and he found it for him. But I was like, I can take you through the building, but I don't even know where half the bathrooms are. There's all kinds of bathrooms in this building,
yeah.
And so I wasn't any help at all. But the thing is, I've been in congregations where, I was the resident
Right.
extra on the building, and if it was,
Yeah.
making sure things in, I don't have to worry about that so much. So
Yeah, and it's always good because I mean, when a lot of times when you're a younger pastor, you want to be in control of everything, and then the older you get, you go, you know what? I'll delegate this to you.
Yeah.
You go to if you want to do that, great. It's like, so just let me do what I want to do. So, but yeah.
The big joke among small church pastors is after the first year is like, I must have missed that course on fixing the copier. I do not remember that course because that's what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
11 o'clock at night when it breaks down, you got to have bulletins for the next morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember going over helping my dad with the mimeograph machine.
Oh, the old mimeograph machines? Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that he was the only one that knew how to use it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, probably in his day, I mean, some of those, they were the pastor was the only guy who knew how to drive in the city.
Yeah.
So he took sometimes the members to the doctor's appointments to the big city, which may have been about the size of Marion, whenever he drove in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for the
And,
info. Thanks for glad to do it.
Yeah. And we'll see you next week. Peace out. That thing will just run.
Gospel. Hear the call. That is what we do at St. James, breaking chains, singing new names, pushing through the night, feeling small, seeking the answers stall. Windows of gray stained with hue, where our mission shines through. Glorify God, nurture all, share the gospel, hear the call. That is what we do at St. James, breaking chains, singing